The moon should not be mined due to the fact that it will actually cause more pollution to be created rather than saving the pollution problem. Now, what I believe is that the government should not fund the moon and not fund mining of the moon in any sort of fashion due to the fact that rocket launches alone will lead the Earth to a very polluted situation. So, to start off, I want to say that going to the moon for resources would further damage the environment due to space launches having such a strong effect on the atmosphere. And madscience.org in October 31st of the year 2000 basically stated that that rocket launches per launch will use 3.5 million pounds of fuel, uh, which is equivalent to 2,500 million pounds of gasoline, just with the ratio there. But what we get is that they said that, well, now currently for the time they said that about that was equal to 2 pounds of fuel used per minute in the U.S. But I found another source that is EIA.gov that states, this article was published on March 16th, 2017 or 2016, so very recent. That says that the United States uses 390 pounds of fuel per day, or 390 million pounds of fuel per day. And by doing the math, if you bring that down to 2 minutes, that's 780 pounds of fuel. And now also another source that I got, Space EN14, IamAScientist.org. This article was produced in November 16th, 2014, states that approximately 8,000 manned and unmanned shuttles have been launched in the past and up to current. And so that means that, calculating the math here, using the pounds of fuel we have calculated, that results in 6.24 million pounds of fuel used, and for each 6.3 pounds of fuel, that makes 20 pounds of CO2, which then results in 19.8 million pounds of CO2 used so far. Now, if you take the amount of helium-3 on the moon, which is 1.1 million pounds, in each shuttle being able to transfer about 20 to 30 million pounds, but to simplify, we'll say 25, just so we get a clean number here. That would mean that we need to do 44,000 trips to the moon, which means that that is another 108.95 million pounds of CO2 that will be added to the atmosphere should we proceed with gathering helium-3 from the moon. And as you can see, that is a huge issue, and also when you have spaceships going up into the air, they have very dense fuel. There's multiple kinds of fuel, but specifically black carbon, which is very dense and will damage the atmosphere, which will result in more radiation coming from the sun and penetrating our atmosphere, further damaging the Earth. And then that could also lead to greater global warming issues. And with that in mind, I would say that there's much more supporting evidence that making electricity through natural means is a better benefit for the Earth. And for example, solar energy is infinitely renewable due to the fact that the sun will continue to go on for billions of years, and by infinitely, I mean infinite in our time span, in our timeline, in our lives. The sun will continue to provide energy as long as we are alive. And also, these solar panels require very little maintenance outside of the fact of actually making them. And also, there have been solar panels developed that will actually turn and face the sun, much like plants do. There are certain plants that will constantly face the sun so they can absorb as much energy as they can, so they can feed themselves through photosynthesis. And as time goes on, our solar panels will continue development, and they will become much better than they were in the prototype, and we will have a lot more energy coming in a lot more reliably. And also, when we are creating energy, there are much more ways to do it. Now, a lot of steam a lot of steam energy creations. They use turbines, and the steam is produced through fossil fuels. But there are many other ways to get the steam without having to burn fossil fuels, actually without having to burn anything, and also avoiding nuclear energy. And that would also be like steam, hot water reservoirs that are buried deep down in the earth, and among other things. So what I believe that we should do is we should focus on development of development of Earth's own electricity creation resources. For example, geothermic, wind power, and what was it? Oh yeah, and steam power. So overall, going to the moon would be a bad decision for the Earth's future.